Alexa, how do I find my smile?
Here's something I found on WikiHow. If you want a bright, cheerful smile, practice smiling in front of a mirror. Pay attention to how your face feels when you're smiling in a way that looks attractive, so you can recreate it later when you're around other people. When you're smiling, your lips, cheeks, and eyes should be engaged. Throughout your day, try to find excuses to smile at people, from strangers walking down the street to your coworker who looks like they're having a bad day. Over time, you'll notice yourself smiling without having to think about it.
Huh. Today, a wonderful film for us middle-aged dads, us middle-aged guys, us men, wondering where we went wrong in the past. A film that shows us where to go right. The great film City Slickers today on Cinema Unites the World. Welcome. Hi, I am Jordan Rockwell, and thank you so much for coming back to the latest episode of Cinema Unites the World. I appreciate you being here. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope I'm helping you. I hope all of us are helping each other. Before I forget, please hit the subscribe button below and pass this show along to your friends who you think might get some use out of it. Do follow me on social media while not spending too much time on those things dividing and conquering us. I'll confess I've been spending a lot of time on there, but I am actually making contacts and getting, trying to get deals going. Tell you about that later. Where was I? Oh yeah, cinemaunitestheworld@gmail.com is my email address. cinemaunitestheworld@gmail.com. At Cinema Unites the World on Instagram. JER Cinema on Twitter. Don't waste your time with Facebook. Let's just say I'm not rooting for Zuck in the cage match, even though this whole cage match thing with him and Elon is just stupid and a distraction. Click, 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 click. You can also go to jordanrockwell.com to find out what I'm up to, and hopefully, as time goes on, we'll be making some great films together. So, at the end of the show, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the writer's strike, the upcoming, let's face it, SAG strike, the cluster F that is Hollywood Creative Accounting, and sneak preview. I don't really know what I'm talking about. Who does? But I'll do my very best. So on to City Slickers. Fellas, this one's for you. 7 years ago, I lost my dad. And 6 years ago, I became a father myself. And I recently had a conversation with a friend of mine. My wife and I were in Jackson Hole for a wedding. This friend's a woman. And she's from Australia. Hi, Alex. And her husband's from Texas. We live in New York together. Hi, David. Love you guys. And her husband and I also lost his dad. And I realized in that moment talking to Alex that I wish I had my dad now. Because I could just call him and ask him things, like parenting things, like, what do I do here? I can't. And about 5 months ago, I went to my son's school for a men's prayer breakfast. It was just the fellas, diverse group of guys. White, black, Asian, Hispanic, all fellas. And I almost cried. I needed it. Back to the movie at hand. A movie about what masculinity can and should be. City Slickers. Released in the summer of 1991, June 7th, 91. That summer gave us this picture and Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Backdraft, a few other wonderful movies. And so this film was directed by Ron Underwood and written by Lowell Gans and Babaloo Mandel. And from what I've heard, is from a story idea by Billy Crystal. It stars Billy Crystal, Daniel Stern, and the late, great Bruno Kirby. So we have three middle-aged men who, from the outside, at least in the very beginning of the movie, during the the running of the bulls in Spain, have great lives. Well, two of them do. One of them is not doing so hot. Pause for a second. It is so important, fellas, to be grateful every day, no matter what you're going through. It's true. Whatever problems you have, there are millions of people who would give anything to swap their problems for yours. At the same time, pain is pain. Yeah, you'd rather be crying in a mansion than crying in a, dirty Chevy, but you're still crying. But I want you to consider this. On June 4th, 1970, Billy Crystal married his high school sweetheart, Janice Goldfinger. Crystal has long credited his parents, who, quote, always looked like they loved being together, with setting an example for his own marriage. That's what I think about whenever I'm in a room with my wife and my children. My children are watching us. No yelling. You know what I mean? Because our children are going to model their romantic lives after us. That's what we do. They tell us they're not going to listen to what you say, they're going to watch what you do. And so on. So, with that in mind, let's go into these characters. We have Ed, once again played by the late, great Bruno Kirby. From the outside, it looks like he's got it made. He has a successful small business. He's married to a smoke show supermodel, underwear model. And in the words of his friends, his wife thinks the sun rises and sets in his pants. He's got it made, but she wants a baby and he isn't sure he can do it. That's his problem. He's afraid he's going to cheat on her. He is insecure about his manhood. We're going to find out why later. Next we have Phil, played by Daniel Stern. Originally it was going to be Rick Moranis, but his wife got sick and he had to drop out. Mr. Moranis, God bless you. Y'all can look him up. Phil works for back to Phil. Phil works for his father-in-law in a grocery store. His father-in-law is a bully who emotionally abuses and humiliates him, and he just puts up with it. His wife, well, here she is. He pretends to sleep so he doesn't have to talk to her. I'd be very curious you want to know, usually toxicity in a family replicates itself until somebody says no more. That's what I've witnessed, and that's what I've experienced, and that's what I've been taught by people who know more than I do about this very subject. It certainly seems that Phil's wife's family was she's a bully, her dad's a bully, and so on. Speaking of Billy Crystal, speaking of who I hope you are, who you marry, who you choose to make babies with, is the most crucial, important decision you will ever make in your entire life. You better choose right, and you can make the best choices ever in life, and things still might not work out. People grow, people change, things happen. But God help you if you choose wrong out of desperation, loneliness, or pressure. If you're pressured into marrying someone and you don't. Phil married the wrong woman. He is a stereotypical beta male, someone who gets picked on. Why'd she marry him? Because she could push him around. Of course, her father is a bully. We don't know anything about her mother. But her father pushes his own son-in-law around. This is a toxic family he married into. He made a mistake. And when it comes out that he's been cheating on her, well, not having sex for 12 years will do that to somebody. He cheats on her. He cheats on his wife with the supermarket, with Lisa Simpson, the supermarket checkout girl, and he did a cowardly thing, and he has ruined his life before the cattle drive begins. And he said, before this is all revealed, he says, two of them got me by the balls. He's got one, she's got the other. If you look like dinner, you're going to get eaten. What bullies do, what a professional told me recently, was that what bullies do is they test, and then when someone shows shame, that's what they're looking for. I talked about bully nights and unhealed shame, but they get away with it because they can because Phil lets them do it, and he takes the coward's way out. And then we have Mitch, our central anchor character. The three men go through a change in this picture, and he's the central main character. Played by the great Billy Crystal. From the outside, it looks like he's got a great life, and he does have a great life. He's got a great condo in Queens, Brooklyn. I don't know New York City real estate, so if you do, tell me. He's got a great family, wonderful wife, gainfully employed, he provides, but he's not happy. Is this all life is going to be? And it's not that great. He doesn't know how to be grateful. I mean, for a living, he sells airtime for advertising, and it's not that his boss humiliates him. His boss is actually a really nice guy, and he's benevolent and kind and says, I got to move you over to a different area until you get back on your feet. God love bosses like him. We need leaders. He's a good leader. And the kind of leader I want to be is one who looks out for his employees, care about them. It's all in our best interest to get along and not be selfish. But anyway, Mitch is not happy. He gets this hilarious phone call from his mother and father. He knows the script. He's losing hair where he wants hair and getting hair where he doesn't. They tell us that you got to find something you can make money at. You're good at it, and you love doing it. He's got the first two down. He's good at something, well, he was. He's making money at it, but he doesn't love it. And a lot of us go through, like, what is that? What is that middle of the Venn diagram? Can we find it? This film is ultimately about the three of these men going through a hero's journey. All three of these men change. It's centered around Mitch, but he's the anchor, and he gets the call to adventure. And that's the hero's journey. The central part, the most important part, is the call to adventure. Well, second most important part. And Phil says at his birthday party, we're going to go to New Mexico, and drive cattle, sleep under the stars. After hearing this, Mitch, of course, refuses the call. That's part of the hero's journey, to refuse the call and doesn't want to go. Because it's comfortable in the ordinary world. The zone of comfort is actually deadly. And when he refuses, Phil says something that I took note of. He said, I worked every weekend for a year to save up for this, which means Phil was keeping a benevolent secret from his friend for a year. Phil, you underestimate yourself. You're strong enough to keep a good secret like that, a surprise, for a year, and work your ass off with a piece of garbage you can't stand, father-in-law? Yeah, Phil, you're stronger than you think you are. And it's a good thing you have that strength, Phil, because you're going to be stuck with your ex-wife for the rest of your life because you have kids with her. See that point about who you make babies with is the most important decision you're ever going to make. And we get the implosion scene. Phil's marriage is over. Everyone leaves the party. And Mitch is supposed to go to Florida with his wife to visit her parents. And he's like, bless her heart, she says, I'm not saying it's okay if you don't come to Florida. I'm saying I don't want you to come. Go away with Ed and Phil and find your smile. What if I can, he asks. And she says, we'll jump off that bridge when we get to it. These are our stakes. The world won't end if they don't go on this cattle drive. It's not Armageddon, but this is a better movie than Armageddon, wouldn't you agree? As long as you make the stakes personal and meaningful, it's going to work. A lot of us men are quietly suffering. We don't know who to be vulnerable to. We have to be vulnerable to somebody. I've lost a friend and an acquaintance to suicide. And in one case, life wasn't going so hot. In the other case, it looked great on the outside. Didn't know what was happening on the inside, though. This is obviously not my area of competence, psychiatry or depression. Hi, honey, you're my daughter. But I'll ask the question, is there a correlation between having things too good and depression? I don't know. If you know the answer to that question through authority or expertise, please email me. Let me know. So off they go to New Mexico. They arrive with other so-called city slickers, and they meet their allies, friends, and enemies. They are city slickers, yuppies. They do not know this life. They do not understand this life. Even though it's fiction, spiritually and emotionally speaking, I do not belong anywhere near the cowboys of Yellowstone. I am too soft. But I'm trying to fix that every day. And so you got three main characters, a couple other fellas, and a lady played by Helen Slater. They're all there for different reasons. The Ira and Barry, the ice cream brothers, are there to have a good time and enjoy themselves. And you have these two gentlemen, father and son, dentists. They're to bond as father and son. The son doesn't want to be there. Not really. And Helen Slater's character is escaping a toxic relationship getting out of a bad relationship with a loser guy who stole from her. I'm sure that this man's, maybe he's had a bad life, bad childhood, but that's not her problem. And she's on this trip to come to terms with that. And then we meet Curly, played by Jack Palance in his Oscar-winning role. As Ed says, one of our last real men, true man, a cowboy, and they get off on the wrong foot. Because Mitch is a smartass, it's his way. He makes jokes at other people's expense, but he doesn't do it out of a sense of cruelty or narcissism. He's a funny guy. I think deep down he wants the person who's making a joke about to laugh too. That's his way. But Curly does not understand that way. But if you're going to have someone busting your chops, you want the one who will teach you a truth while making you laugh about it, trying to help you. And that's wonderful. So off they go on the cattle drive. And since this is a show about masculinity, it's going to focus first on what makes Curly finally respect Mitch. Mitch makes a mistake and accidentally starts a cattle stampede, and Curly insists that he goes with him to find the stray cattle. To punish him? Or does Curly see something in Mitch? And the first thing that makes Curly respect Mitch is this exchange, where he says, I made fun of you before, and I shouldn't have done that, but then you humiliated me, and now this and that, so tell you what, Curly, if you're going to kill me, get it over with. If not, shut the hell up, I'm on vacation. Mitch stands up to him. He stands up to a bully. He stands up for himself. Curly is impressed. Curly is not a bad man. There are bad men on this trip, toxic men. We'll get to them in a second. But this is the first thing that Mitch earns Curly's respect. And they sing Tumbleweeds together with a harmonica. Sociopaths, psychopaths, evil people, doesn't make a difference. You just stand up to them to stop them. But there are also kind of in the middle people like Curly who, you got to earn their respect, and Mitch is better off for it. The second thing that I think Curly makes him respect him even more is they talk as men, and they talk about love. And Curly says the love of his life was this woman he saw in Texas, and that's it. He just rode past her, nodded to her, and that's it. And Mitch is like, "That's really great." No, wait a minute. No, it's not. Could be the greatest thing ever. And Curly says, I just figured it wouldn't get any better than that. Curly's wrong. Curly doesn't know how to talk to women. Can't relate to them. That's toxic. Guys, some of us don't know how to open up, but Mitch actually makes an argument that you got to open up to somebody. It's based on logic and kindness. When you make a point logically, you don't make it personal, people will respect you for that. And then the third and final moment that makes Curly respect Mitch is when they're almost back with the rest of the people and rest of the herd, and Curly realizes that one of the cows is not only pregnant but going into labor, and he realizes that the calf is breached, and he has to hold the cow down while Mitch delivers the baby. And there are jokes. The way this scene is structured is absolutely brilliant. How it goes from crisis, oh God, to jokes, to he delivers the calf. Isn't this wonderful? And then, bam, Curly has no choice but to put the cow mother out of her misery. She's suffering. You want to know what makes you a man? You got to do tough stuff. You got to be willing to step up. And Curly puts his arm around Mitch and says, "Good job, cowboy." He called Mitch a cowboy. Respect. And that's the end of the movie. The end. Just kidding. The hero's journey continues. And in the hero's journey, the mentor, at some point, exits the story. Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Yoda, and in this case, the Curly. For the hero, or in this case, heroes, must go on alone. And they have an impromptu funeral after Curly dies. Some jokes. Lord, we give you Curly. Try not to piss him off. That's it. What else is there? There's like a chicken burning. Like, life goes on. But then Mitch gives a eulogy, impromptu. Curly, I didn't know you well, but I'll never forget you. You lived life on your terms, simple, honest, and brave. I'm glad for the short time we spent together. You're going to lose people in life, guys, but with gratitude, thank God you had them when you did. And then we get our first big talk of the three men. That's why I love this picture and pictures like it so much, is that it just keeps giving you gifts over and over and over while entertaining you. And the three men are talking about mortality because they just saw someone die. And Mitch is getting a little pessimistic, and Ed says, "No, I'm happy to be alive. I'm grateful to be alive." Ed, with all his flaws, knows how to live life to the fullest. It's a great strength. And they have this conversation that is one of the 2 or 3 reasons why this picture will always live in my soul. It's the concept of the best day and the worst day. And realizing what those days are reveal who they are, especially Ed. It begins with Phil asking, "What was your best day?" And you can't say when your kids were born, that's too easy. Yeah. Damn right, it's too easy. First, Phil. His best day, to our surprise, was his wedding day. His dad winked at him. He's all grown up. He got a job. Most, if not all, toxic relationships start well. That's the honeymoon phase, but there are good times. Not all bad. Unfortunately, that's what keeps us in bad relationships. And they ask him what was his worst day. He says, "Every day since has been a tie." He's not telling the entire truth. Well, he doesn't realize he's not telling the entire truth because his best day is coming. For Mitch, best day was the first time he went to a Yankees game. Boo! Go O's. Just kidding. First time he went to a Yankees game with his dad. First game he ever saw in color because they had black and white TVs back then. And you watch this sequence and you can tell that Billy Crystal's not acting. This is probably true. He's a huge Yankees fan. And he made contact in spring training that one time. So there you go. It's a beautiful story. It's pure. It's a pure, beautiful day. Whenever you have one of those beautiful, pure days, take note. But his worst day was the day that his wife had a breast cancer scare. We don't even know about this until now. It turned out to be nothing, but that day was hell. And Ed argues with him, but the day was great because it turned out to be nothing. He says, yeah, but leading up to that point, it was awful. And Ed says, that's your problem, Mitch. You go through life ignoring the good you get out of stuff. He's a real glass is half empty kind of guy. And then we get to Ed, the most devastating monologue. We find out why Ed is the way he is. Why he's scared to be a father. It was his past. He was with his mother and his sisters as a teenage boy, and his father has been cheating on his mom, and he realizes he wasn't just cheating on her, he was cheating on us. And finally the day came that Ed became a man. He stands up to his father and says, leave, get out. We don't want you or need you anymore. I'll take care of my mom and my sisters without you. And then he says to his friends, his father made like he was going to hit me, but I didn't budge. His father walked out, never saw him again. That was my best day. And Phil says, if that was your best day, what was your worst day? And Ed says, 2 words. Same day. This, to me, is the most important message this film, this wonderful picture, has to offer us. And I thank the writers for coming up with it. This concept of same day. And I'm reminded of the day my mom died of Lou Gehrig's disease, and she died on my birthday. By the way, I celebrate my birthday. That's what she would have wanted, and I always do. But on that day, 19 years ago, my stepdad and I are sitting outside a few hours afterwards, and he said to me, I don't know how to explain this, but this is one of the best days of my life. I think maybe what he meant to say was, this is the same day. Let's see. I think it's, you can have a great day, a bad day, best day, worst day, but when the best day and the worst day are the same day, that's the greatest day. Because when something awful happens, but you have no choice but to grow up and grow as a person. A terrible day can lead you down a better path, and you'll look back and see that it was the same day. I collectively look at all my breakups as one big same day, because it led me to my wife. And I'll have other great days, I'm sure. I can think of one like, I had this cat named Chloe. My friends and family, they know Chloe. And the day that she crossed the Rainbow Bridge was the great day, the same day, because I evolved and grew that day. I did the right thing by her. So you got to ask yourself what that is for you, but your attitude and choice as a reaction is what's going to make it great. Of course, Ed, in a perfect world, would not have a philandering father, would have a great dad. But life isn't fair, and that's just not possible. Another harsh truth of adulthood and reality. And after this scene, right after, we see them having an impromptu baseball game, just hitting and throwing. 3 of them taking turns. One's batting, one's pitching, one's fielding. Just goofing off. This is very important, guys. We grow up, we have responsibilities. Some of us never grow up. Even with our responsibilities, some of us never grow up. And by the way, being dads, being a good father, fellas, is the most important job we're ever going to have. And what I call the RSTLNE, it was like back in the day with Wheel of Fortune, they used to give you the 5 most common consonants and the most common vowel, and then you guess the puzzle. And to me, in that case, I call that the just what given. What should be not celebrated, but should be normal, you never abuse, neglect, or abandon. God forgive you if you do. I know I'm a good father. Am I a great one? We'll see. I'm going to try to be. There are certain things in life where failure is not an option. This is definitely one of them. And one thing to help us get through that is to remember our childhood joy while remaining our responsibilities as husbands and fathers. That's why I love Disneyland so much. One of my best days, not a same day, was the first time I took my son to Disneyland. And the first time we flew the Millennium Falcon together. I got to experience Disneyland through his eyes and mine. I just celebrated my 46th birthday with Jack, just me and him. Our first overnight trip together. It was glorious. And I got to experience that joy with him. Certainly this book and movie has been on my mind. Nobody wants this. Nobody wants to have to keep the fire going that way. Anyway, back to Sea Slickers. Back to our film. Two cowboys get drunk, reveal their inner sociopathic natures. Vino Veritas. Long story short, it is Phil who saves the day. My father-in-law is a bully, he says. I hate bullies. They take away your dignity because they can. He's had enough. And after saving the day, Phil realizes that he can be vulnerable with his brothers. A true brotherhood, fellas, are your buddies who you can be vulnerable to and honest. And they won't judge you. They'll pick you up if you're being cowardly. They'll show you how not to be, how to have courage. And Phil takes responsibility for his failures. He married the wrong woman. He committed adultery. And he has despair that his life is over. But his friends tell him in not so many words, you're still breathing. You're not done. It's not too late to start over. And that's true. If you're breathing, if you're alive, you're not going to have every option you used to have, but you still have options. And you can change. Never forget it. And back to our big finish in the river. The three men go off alone with the herd to bring in the herd. And this is the final test, the hero's journey's final test. And Ed admits, all the weekend warrior nonsense was just that, nonsense. Can I do it? We need to be challenged. We need to try difficult things. Doesn't mean you have to climb Everest or do a cattle drive in New Mexico. I highly doubt I'll ever do a cattle drive, and I'm never climbing Everest. I don't have a need to do that. I do have a need to do other things that are difficult. Certainly defeating the evil wolf within is the biggest one. Because I know that when I get past my fear and do the fear mantra from Dune and attempt something difficult, more often than not lately I've been finding out that my worst enemy is that evil wolf within. The two good wolves are trying to get me to ignore them. Now, in this scene, of course, the worst enemy is the storm in the river. But a concept from before I haven't brought up yet, which is one thing. And the one thing is, what's most important to you? Above all else, what is your true north? I know what mine are. Duh. In that river, all that matters to Mitch is rescuing Norman. Norman isn't just his adoptive cow pet, his adoptive first son. It's who and what Norman represents. It's a living, breathing avatar of Mitch's change. He has to save him. How would his wife and kids feel about risking his life? It's complicated. And this was an ordeal. These guys almost died. And they will never forget this trip, and they're better off for it. Tip of the cap to everyone who made this wonderful picture. It holds up. It's also hysterically funny. And also deeply profound. They say a leopard can't change its spots. It's true. They say once you bake a cake, it's a cake. It's true. But it's a good thing that we're not leopards and we're not cakes. We're human beings and we can change. Period. It's a glacial process. And more often than not, you're going to have to go through a trial, an ordeal to do it, to become who you want to become. This is the collective unconsciousness that Stephen Pressfield talks about in his book, The War of Art, talking about Homer's Odyssey. It's the hero's journey. It's all over the world, across different cultures, diverse religions, the hero's journey. You are the hero in your life. Go earn it. Get some.
Hi, a little interjection here. Whoops-a-daisy. I'm back east visiting family. You can hear the locusts of the American South. I got a little sun-kissed today on the beach. Is I just, I didn't wrap it up in a way that I find satisfying. So here we go. Like, Mitch rescues Norman, and the three men hold each other in the river with Norman and Ed. I never forget what he says to him. I almost lost you, pal. The one thing for these three men are each other. This ordeal they go through, this journey, this odyssey to become better men. And in the end, they all both realize that they both internally say to themselves, I am not my past. That I'm not perfect, that I will make mistakes, but onward, and we can do better. Ed says, I'm going to go home and get my wife pregnant. Like, I'm not my father. I'm not my insecurity. What the real man is that, yeah, in this case, do the right thing by his wife. Like, what he really wants anyway. So Phil accepts his responsibility in the demise of his marriage and his choices and says, you're right, my life is a do-over and I'm going to do it over. And Mitch finds his smile. And when he has the reunion with his wife and kids, and yeah, that's this true north, that's this one thing. Oh, to have a partner like that who is like supportive, like, yeah, that's what we got to do. Support the people. We're going to support our soulmates. Doesn't mean you accept everything they say or do, but it's love and support. And she says, you want to quit your job? No. I'm just going to do it better. And like what Mitch is saying there is, well, I chose this career for a reason. I'm good at it. And he realizes, is this all there is? Yeah, and guess what? It's fantastic. The end. What a story. I chose this picture because I recognized that I saw it 4 times when I was 14 years old. This is a story about middle-aged men going through a midlife crisis. Why would I find that relatable at age 14? Because a great movie like Sea Slickers doesn't depend on you being like the characters to enjoy it. And there you go. So, on to my thoughts on the strikes happening right now. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so still watching? The writer's strike, now the Screen Actors Guild strike. DGA kind of avoided it. Wonder why that is. We live in very scary times, even when you factor out the doom scrolling. Why it is I'm not rooting for Zuck. Ever. Because they figured out in 2016 that through the algorithm, negative clicks equals cha-ching. And this Elon versus Zuck thing is one big stupid distraction. Inflation, military industrial complex, crime, so on. Outrage, fear drives money. The wealth transferring, widening gap, COVID lockdowns, what a mistake that was. What will piss you off to keep you scrolling? That's what they do. It's not good. Creative accounting, crony capitalism makes my skin crawl. Forrest Gump apparently has never turned a profit. Bullshit. Stories of animators on Sausage Party getting overworked, not getting paid. Ant-Man the Quantum, whatever, I didn't see it. And the fear of AI. I'm a rational eternal optimist. AI could actually help us or hurt us. It's terrifying. Writers deserve to be paid. Actors deserve to be paid, compensated properly, and they're not. The crew deserves to be taken care of. I'm not going to reflexively hate the successful, the rich. Can't stand the greedy and the tyrannical. I completely support these strikes. And word around the campfire is that the studios and their conglomerates, whatever, the vertically integrated nonsense, are planning to start them out. Seriously? You're not helping. We all gotta get back to work. We got pictures to make. I'm ready to make them, so are you. So if you're watching this and you want a, I don't know, small L libertarian scratching and clawing his way to the center to come out and join you in the picket line, for any reason, hit me up. I'll come out and I'll support you. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Everybody, God bless. Good times, bad times, neither one lasts. Keep going. We'll get through this. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon. Cinema unites the world. Have a great day.